Act 3 The Visit by Friedrich Dürrenmatt. Peterson's barn. Claire Zakanassian seated in her sedan chair on the left, motionless, in a wedding gown, veil, and so on. On the far left, a ladder, also a hay wagon, an old hansom, straw, in the center a small barrel, rags and moldering sacks hanging from the above, enormous spider webs spreading in all directions. The butler comes in from the back. The doctor and the teacher. Let them in. Madam? You look dusty, gentlemen. Excuse us, we had to climb over an old carriage. I've retired to Peterson's barn. I need peace and quiet. The wedding in Gullin Cathedral was a strain. After all, I'm not a young girl anymore. Sit down on that barrel. Thank you. It's stuffy here, suffocating, but I love this barn. The smell of hay, straw, and axle grease. Memories, all those tools, the pitchfork, the hansom, the broken hay wagon. They were already here when I was a girl. A contemplative spot. Quite an uplifting sermon the pastor gave. 1 Corinthians 13. And you did a decent job too, teacher. You and your mixed choir. It had a solemn sound. Bach, from St. Matthew's Passion. I'm still utterly dazed. Everyone was there. The world of high society, the world of high finance, the world of glamour. The worlds have whizzed back to the capital of their Cadillacs for the wedding feast. Madam, we don't wish to take up more of your precious time than necessary. Your husband must be waiting for you. Hobie? I sent him back to Geiselgastig in his Polsha. To Geiselgastig? My lawyers have already filed for divorce. But madam, what about the wedding guests? They're used to it. It's my second shortest marriage. Only the one with Lord Ishmael was even speedier. What brings you here? We're here in the matter of Mr. Ill. Oh, has he died? Madam, we stand by our Western principles. So what do you want? The Gulliners have most regrettably made a number of acquisitions. A considerable number. In debt? Hopelessly. Despite your principles, we're only human. And must now we pay off our debts. You know what has to be done. Mrs. Zakanassian, let us speak frankly. Put yourself in our deplorable situation. For 2 decades I have been planting the tender shoots of humanism in this poverty-stricken community, while our doctor has trundled about in his old Mercedes, curing people of rickets and tuberculosis. Such grievous sacrifices. For what? Money? Hardly. Our earnings are minimal. I flatly rejected an offer to teach at Kalbertstadt College, and our doctor turned down an appointment at Erlangen University. Pure altruism? That, too, would be saying too much. No, we kept going, all those endless years, and so did this whole little township, because there is a hope, the hope that the bygone greatness of Gullin will be resurrected, that the latent wealth stored in such lavish abundance beneath our native soil will be remembered some day. There is oil beneath Pöckenreit Valley, and ore beneath the woods of Konradsville. We are not poor, madam. We are merely forgotten. We need credit, trust, contracts, and our economy. Our culture will flourish. Gullin has something to offer. The Hopewell Foundry. Bachmann and Co. The Wagner works. Buy them, modernize them, and Gullin will prosper. Why not invest 100 million, with a likelihood of high returns, instead of squandering $1 billion? I still have 2 more. Don't leave us with the knowledge of having waited our whole lives in vain. We're not begging for alms. We're making a business proposition. Really? Sounds like a good deal. Madam, I knew you wouldn't let us down. Except it's not feasible. I can't buy the Hopewell Foundry, because it's mine already. Yours and Bachmann. The Wagner works? I own those 2. The factories, the Pöckenreit Valley, the Peterson's barn, the town, street by street, house by house. I had my agents buy the whole mess and shut down every business. Your hope was a delusion. Your perseverance was pointless. Your sacrifices were stupid, and your whole life has been a useless waste. But this is monstrous. It was winter. Back then, when I left this town, in a schoolgirl sailor suit, with red braids, highly pregnant, the townspeople grinning as I passed. Freezing, I sat in the train to Hamburg. but as the outlines of Peterson's barn faded away behind the frosted window panes, I decided I would come back one day. Now I'm here. Now I set the conditions. I drive the bargain. Roby and Toby, to the Golden Apostle. Husband number 9's on the way with his books and manuscripts. Mrs. Zakanasian, you are an injured, loving woman. You demand absolute justice. You remind me of a heroine from antiquity, of Medea. But because we understand you in the depths of our soul, you give us the courage to ask more of you. Put away these disastrous thoughts of revenge. Don't push us to the limit. Help these poor, weak, but fundamentally decent people lead a slightly more dignified life. Find it in your heart to let human kindness prevail. Human kindness, gentlemen, is made for the purses of millionaires. With financial power like mine, you can afford yourself a new world order. The world made a whore of me. Now I'll make a whorehouse of the world. Pay up or get off the dance floor. You want to join the dance? Only paying customers merit respect. And believe me, I'll pay. Going for a murder. Boom times for a corpse. Get moving, you two. My God, what shall we do? What our conscience demands, Dr. Nuslin. What a ceremony. The whole town was out on the cathedral square watching. Clary deserves some happiness after all that misery. Film stars as bridesmaids, with breasts like this. They're in fashion these days. Cigarettes, the green ones. Camels, and an axe. A butcher's axe? Precisely. There you are, Mr. Hofbauer. Nice merchandise. How's business? Got new stuff. Got new staff. I'm hiring too, on the 1st. Hello, Mrs. Helmsberger. She must be living in a dream, the way she dresses. Shameless. Aspirant. Went to a party at Stalker's last night. Journalists everywhere. Snooping all over town. They'll come here too. We are ordinary people, Mr. Hofbauer. They won't come looking here. They question everyone. They're interviewing the pastor right now. He'll keep his mouth shut. He's always had a heart for us poor people. Chesterfield. On credit? On credit. Your husband, Mrs. Ill? Haven't seen him for a long time. Upstairs, pacing the floor, for days now. It's his conscience. That was a nasty trick he played on poor Mrs. Zakanasian. It hurts me too. Ruining the life of a young girl. Bastard. Mrs. Ill, I hope your husband doesn't blabber when the journalists come. Certainly not. It's considering his character. It's not easy for me, Mr. Hofbauer. If he tries to expose Clara by claiming she put a price on his head or something like that, when actually it was just an expression of unspeakable suffering, we'll just have to take action. Not because of the billion, as an expression of public indignation. Poor Mrs. Zakanasian has been through more than enough on account of him. Is this the way up to the apartment? It's the only way up. Inconvenient, but we're renovating in the spring. I might as well plant myself here. Why, here's our good teacher. How nice of you to come and see us. I need a strong alcoholic beverage. Steinhage? A shot. You too, Mr. Hofbauer? No thanks. Still have to drive my Volkswagen to Kaffingen to buy some piglets. And you, Mr. Helmsberger? I won't have a drop till these damn journalists have left town. Thanks. You're troubling, sir. I've been drinking too much lately. Just come from the Golden Apostle. They're having a regular alcohol orgy over there. I hope you don't mind my breath. One more won't do any harm. Your husband? Upstairs, constantly pacing. Another glass? The last one? Watch out. 2 journalists asked me about this store. Suspicious. I pretended not to know anything. Smart. Hope they come to my studio. I'm painting a Christ figure. Those women. Going to the new movie theater in broad daylight. The press. Keep your mouth shut. Make sure he doesn't come. That will be taken care of. Good evening, folks. Good evening. Question number 1. How do you all feel, generally speaking? We're pleased, of course, about Mrs. Zakanasian's visit. Pleased. Moved. Proud. Proud. After all, Clary's one of us. Question number 2 is for the lady behind the counter. Some people claim that your husband preferred you to Mrs. Zakanasian. Who made that claim? Those 2 fat little blind men that came with Mrs. Zakanasian. What did the little men tell you? Everything. Damn. Clary Zakanassian and the owner of this store were on the verge of getting married more than 40 years ago. True? True. Mr. Ill. In Kalbertstad. In Kalbertstad. We can picture the romance, Mr. Ill, and Clary Zakanassian growing up together, maybe next door to each other, going to school together, walking in the woods, first kisses, etc., until Mr. Ill meets you, ma'am, as something new and unfamiliar as passion itself. It happened just the way you said. Claire Zakanassian gets the picture, bows out in her quiet, noble way, and you marry for love. For love. For love. We won't tell any more stories. We won't tell any more stories. Not to Toby. Not to Toby. Your husband, Mrs. Ill. Doesn't he now and then, it would only be human if now and then he had some regrets. Money alone makes no one happy. No one happy. Our son, Carl. Splendid young man. Does he know about the relations? We have no secrets in our family. My husband always says, whatever God knows, our children should know too. God knows. Children should know. Our daughter, Ottilie. Charming. Gulliners, I am your old teacher. I've been drinking my Steinhage and kept my thoughts to myself, but now I want to hold a speech about the old lady's visit to Gölen. Have you lost your mind? Cut it out! Get off that barrel! Gulliners, I want to proclaim the truth, even if our poverty should last forever. You are drunk, sir. You should be ashamed of yourself. Ashamed? You should be ashamed, woman, for you are about to betray your husband. Shut up. Get out. Calamity is battering. Beware. As an Oedipus, swollen like a toad. Please, sir, child, you disappoint me. It's you who ought to be speaking out, and now your old teacher must do so, with a voice of thunder. Are you trying to wreck my chances as an artist? I just finished painting a Christ. A Christ! I protest. I appeal to the world opinion. Something monstrous is in the making here in Gölen. What's going on in my store? The truth, Ill? I'm telling the gentlemen of the press the truth. I'm telling it like an archangel, with a ringing voice. For I am a humanist, a friend of the ancient Greeks, an admirer of Plato. Be quiet. But humanity, sit down. Sit down? Humanity has to sit down. Absolutely. If even you won't stand up for the truth. I'm sorry about this. The man is drunk. Mr. Ill? What do you want from me? We're very pleased to meet you after all. We need some pictures. May we? Groceries, household items, hardware. I have an idea. Sell the axe. The axe? To the butcher. He already has it in his hand. Hand me that murder weapon for a moment, my friend. You, take the axe, and weigh it in your hand. Make a thoughtful face. You see, like that. And you, Mr. Ill, lean across the counter, advising the butcher. More natural, gentlemen, more casual. That was good, really good. May I ask you now to put your arm around your wife's shoulders? The son on the left, the daughter on the right, and now I want to see you beaming with happiness. Beaming from deep inside. Just beaming with cheerful, quiet contentment. That's what I call beaming. Finished. Zakanassian's got a new one. They're taking a walk in the woods of Konradsville. A new one. That's good for a Life magazine cover. That was lucky. With all due respect, sir, if we still want to sell this business amicably, the press has to be kept out of it. Got it? Smart. Very smart of you to keep your mouth shut. No one would believe a bastard like you anyway. We'll be in the picture magazines now, Ill. Right. We'll be famous. Sort of a corona. Sure. Charge it. Of course. Frankly, only a son of a bitch would do what you did to Clary. The axe, Hofbauer. I apologize. I had a few nips of Steinhago. 2 or 3. That's all right. I wanted to help you, but they beat me down, and you didn't want it either. Oh, ill, what sort of people are we? That disgraceful billion is burning in our hearts. Pull yourself together. Fight for your life. Get in touch with the press. You're running out of time. I'm not fighting anymore. Tell me, are you so scared that you've completely lost your mind? I realize that I have no right anymore. No right? Compared to this damned old lady? This shameless arch whore? Switching husbands in front of our eyes? Collecting our souls? After all, it's my fault. Your fault? I turned Clara into what she is, and myself into what I am, a grimy, petty shopkeeper. What shall I do, teacher of Gölen? Play the innocent? It's all my own doing. The eunuchs, the butler, the coffin, and the billion. I can't help myself anymore. I can't help you either. I'm sober, suddenly. You are right. Absolutely. It's all your fault. And now I want to tell you something. Alfred Ill, something fundamental. They will kill you. I've known it from the beginning, and you too have known it for a long time, even though no one else in Gölen wants to admit it. The temptation is too great and our poverty is too wretched. But I know something else. I too will take part in it. I can feel myself slowly turning into a murderer. My faith in humanity is powerless, and because I know this, I have turned into a drunk. I'm scared, Ill, just as you have been scared. I still know that someday an old lady will visit us too. And then what is happening to you now will happen to us. But soon, maybe in a few hours, I will no longer know it. Another bottle of Steinhagen. Put it on my account. Everything's new, modern, the way our place looks now. Clean, attractive. I've always dreamed of having a store like this. You play tennis? I've had a couple of lessons. Early in the morning, right? Instead of going to the employment office? All my friends play tennis. I was looking out the window, Carl. I saw you in an automobile. It's just an Opel Olympia. They're not that expensive. When did you learn to drive? Instead of looking for work in the blazing sun? I was looking for my Sunday suit. Wait. Sometimes. It's on approval. Everyone's running up debts, Freddie. You're the only one who goes into a panic about it. It's simply ridiculous for you to be scared. It's so obvious this thing will be settled peacefully, without anyone touching a hair on your head. Clary won't go through with it. I know her. She's too good-hearted. Definitely, Father. It makes sense, don't you see? It's Saturday, son. I'd like to go for a drive in your car. Just once. In our car. You want to? All of you, put on your good clothes. We'll go for a drive together. You want me to come too? That wouldn't look right. Why shouldn't it look right? Put on your fur coat. You've never worn it before. This is a good occasion. I'll make up the accounts in the meantime. Good evening, Ill. Don't let me disturb you. I'm just passing by. By all means. I brought you a gun. Thanks. It's loaded. I don't need it. Tonight there's a community meeting at the Golden Apostle in the auditorium. I'll be there. Everyone will be there. We'll discuss your case. We're sort of in a bind. That's my impression too. The motion will be rejected. Possibly. You can never be sure, of course. Of course. In such a case, would you accept the judgment, Ill, since the press will be there? The press, the radio too, and the TV, and the weekly newsreels. A touchy situation, not just for you, but for us as well. Believe me, as the lady's hometown, and especially after her wedding in the cathedral, we've become so famous that they're preparing a program about our ancient democratic institutions. You're not going to make the lady's offer known to the public? Not directly. Only the insiders will understand the meaning of the discussion. The fact is that my life is at stake. I'm advising the press to the effect that Mrs. Akanassian may, possibly, set up an endowment, which you, Ill, helped bring about, thanks to your early friendship with her. That you were friends is of course common knowledge. Now, this means that as far as appearances go, You're clear of all guilt, no matter what happens. That's kind of you. Frankly, I didn't do it for you, but for your perfectly decent, honest family. I understand. You have to admit we're playing fair with you. Up till now, you've kept quiet. Good. But will you continue to be quiet? If you intend to talk, we'll have to do the whole thing without a community meeting. I get the point. Well, I'm glad to hear an open threat. I'm not threatening you. You're threatening us. If you talk, we'll have to act in advance. I'll keep quiet. No matter what tonight's decision will be, I'll accept it. Fine. I'm glad you'll submit to the community's judgment, It's still a glimmer of decency in you, but wouldn't it be better if we didn't even have to have a community meeting to judge your case? What are you trying to say? You said before that you didn't need the rival. Perhaps you need it after all. Then we could tell the lady that we had brought you justice and still receive the money. I've slept many a sleepless night over this proposal, believe me, but wouldn't it be your duty, as a man of honor, to face the facts and put an end to your life? If only for the sake of the community, out of love for your hometown. You're well aware of our wretched poverty, the misery, the hungry children. You're all doing quite well now. Your Honor, I've been through hell. I saw you all going into debt, and with every sign of prosperity, I felt death creeping closer. If you had spared me that anguish, that horrible fear, it would have been all different. We could speak on different terms. I would take the rifle, for all of your sake. But then I shut myself in, conquered my fear. Alone, it was hard. Now it's done. There is no turning back. Now you must be my judges. I will submit to your decision, whatever it turns out to be. For me, it will be justice. I don't know what it will be for you. May God help you live with your judgment. You can kill me. I won't complain. I won't protest. I won't defend myself. But your action is yours, and I can't relieve you of it. Too bad. You're missing a chance to redeem yourself and become a halfway decent human being. But obviously, that was too much to expect. A light, Your Honor. You look very distinguished, Matilda. Persian lamb, like a lady, rather expensive. Lovely dress, Ottilie, but a little risque, don't you think? Oh, come on, Daddy, you should see my evening dress. Beautiful car. All my life I tried to put a little money aside to be able to afford some comfort, something like this car. And now that the time has come, I'd like to know what it feels like. Matilda, you get in the back with me. Ottilie, you sit in the front next to Carl. I can do 80 miles an hour. Not so fast. I want to see the scenery. The town I've lived in for almost 70 years. Nice and clean now. The old streets, lots of renovation, gray smoke above the chimneys, geraniums in front of the windows, sunflowers, roses in the gardens by the Goethe Ark, children laughing, couples everywhere. Nice modern building on Brahms Square. They're renovating the Café Hotel. The doctor with his Mercedes 300. The plain, hills behind it, as if covered with gold today. Tremendous, the shadows we're diving into. And then the light again. The cranes of the Wagner works like giants on the horizon, and the Bachmann chimneys. The town wants to buy them. What? The town wants to buy them. Funny little cars. Messerschmitts. Every apprentice has to have one. C'est terrible. Ottilie is taking advanced courses in French and English. Good idea. Kubler's Bar and Grill. Haven't been out there for a long time. It's going to be an eatery. You have to talk louder at this speed. It's going to be an eatery, stalker, of course. Passing everyone in this Buick. Une nouveau riche. Now drive through the Puckenride Valley, past the moor and down the Poplar Boulevard, and Prince Hasso's hunting lodge, enormous clouds piled up in the sky, as if it were summer. Beautiful country, flooded in evening light. I'm seeing it today as if for the first time. It's an atmosphere like the Adalbert Stifter. Like where? Ottilie studying literature, too. Cultivated. Hofbauer with his Volkswagen, coming back from Kaffingen. With the piglets. Carl's a good driver. Elegant. The way he cut that corner. You're safe. You're in safe hands with him. First gear. The road's steep here. Always got out of breath walking up this hill. Glad I've got my fur coat. It's getting cool. You've gone the wrong way. This is the road to Beisenbach. Now you have to go back and then left, into the woods of Conradsville. Once again were pines and beeches, finch and cuckoo, timid deer, mouldering roots and domes of ivy, deep primeval forest gloom. Another deer. The beast won't leave the road. They're trusting. No one's poaching anymore. Stop under those trees. All right. What do you want to do? Walk in the woods. Beautiful. The sound of the bells of Gulen. The workday's over. 4 bells. Now it sounds just right. Everything's yellow. Fall is really here. Leaves on the ground like heaps of gold. We'll wait for you down by the Gulen Bridge. Not necessary. I'll walk to town through the woods. To the community meeting. In that case, we'll drive to Kalbertstad, Freddy, and go to a movie. Au revoir, Papa. See you soon. See you soon. The woods of Conradsville. Roby and Toby, stop for a moment. Bark beetles. The tree is dying. Alfred, good to see you. I'm visiting my woods. Are the woods yours too? They are. May I sit next to you? By all means. I just said goodbye to my family. They're going to a movie. Carl bought himself a car. Progress. Ottilie is taking a literature course. English and French as well. You see, they've developed a sense of ideals after all. Come, Zobi, make your bow. My 9th husband, Nobel Prize winner. Pleased to meet you. He's especially remarkable when he doesn't think. Stop thinking for a moment, Zobi. But Schatzi, oh, don't be coy. All right. See, now he looks like a diplomat. Reminds me of Count Holk. Though that one didn't write books. He wants to retire so he can write his memoirs and manage my estate. Congratulations. It makes me uneasy. Husbands are objects for display, not for daily use. Zobi, go and do some research. You'll find the historical ruins on the left. The 2 eunuchs? Started talking too much. I had them shipped off to Hong Kong, to one of my opium dens. There they can smoke and dream. The butler will follow them soon. I won't be needing him either. Bobby, hand me a Romeo and Juliet. Would you like one too, Alfred? I would, thanks. Help yourself. Give us a light, Bobby. Smells really good. We often smoked together in these woods. Do you remember? Cigarettes you had bought from little Matilda, or stolen. That woodpecker again. Cuckoo! Cuckoo! And the cuckoo. Would you like Roby to play for you on his guitar? Please. He plays well. The pardoned murderer. I need him for my contemplative moments. I hate record players and radios too. There's a battalion on the march in deepest Africa. Your favorite song. I taught it to him. You had? We had a child. We did. Was it a boy or a girl? A girl. And what name did you give her? Genevieve. Pretty name. I only saw the thing once, at birth. Then it was taken away by the Christian Welfare Society. Her eyes? They weren't open yet. Hair? Black, I believe, but that's not unusual with a newborn. I guess you're right. Where was she when she died? With people. I forgot their names. What did she die of? Meningitis. Maybe it was something else. I received a card from the authorities. In cases of death, you can depend on them. I told you about our little girl. Now tell me about yourself. About you? What I was like when I was 17, when you loved me. Once I had took for you a long time in Peterson's barn. I found you in the carriage with nothing but a shift and a long straw between your lips. You were strong and brave. You fought the railroad man when he tried to sneak up on me. I wiped the blood from your face and my red petticoat. The ballad is over. One more. Home Sweet Home. Roby can play that too. The hour has come. For the last time we're sitting in our evil forest full of cuckoos and sighing winds. The town's holding a meeting this evening. They'll sentence me to death, and one of them will kill me. I don't know who he will be or where it'll happen. I only know that I'm ending a meaningless life. I loved you. You betrayed me. But the dream of life, of love, of trust, this dream that was a reality once, I haven't forgotten that. I want to rebuild it with my billions. I will change the past by destroying you. Thank you for the wreaths, the chrysanthemums, and the roses. They'll look good on the coffin in the golden apostle. Distinguished. I will take you to Capri in your coffin. I built a mausoleum in the garden of my palazzo, surrounded by cypresses, overlooking the Mediterranean. I only know it from pictures. Deep blue, a grand panorama. There you will remain, with me. Now Home Sweet Home is finished too. The Nobel Prize winner, back from his ruin. Well, Zobi? Early Christian, destroyed by the Huns. Too bad, your arm, the sedan chair, Roby and Toby. Farewell, Alfred. Farewell, Clara. Ladies and gentlemen, now that we've been at the birthplace and talked with the pastor, we will attend a community meeting. We are nearing the climax of the visit of Mrs. Claire Zakanassian is paying to her friendly, cozy little hometown. The famous lady is not personally present, but the mayor will make an important announcement in her name. We are in the auditorium of the Golden Apostle, the very same hotel in which Goethe spent the night. On the stage, which is ordinarily used for club events as well as for guest shows of the Kalbertstad Repertory Theatre, the men of Göttingen are now assembling, an ancient custom, as the mayor has just informed us. The women are all down in the auditorium, another traditional feature. The atmosphere is solemn, the tension extraordinary. All the weekly newsreels are here, my colleagues from TV, reporters from all over the world, and now the mayor is beginning to speak. I welcome the community of Göttingen. I hereby open this meeting with a single item on our agenda. It is my privilege to announce that Mrs. Claire Zakanassian, the daughter of our worthy fellow citizen Gottfried Wascher, intends to make a donation to us in the amount of 1 billion. 500 million to the city, 500 million to be shared amongst the town people. Dear listeners, this is a sensational moment, an endowment that turns inhabitants of this small town into wealthy people overnight. This represents one of the greatest social experiments of our time. Naturally, the community is stunned. There is a deathly silence here, deep emotion on every face. I now yield the floor to our teacher. Gulliners, we must be aware of the fact that in making this donation, Mrs. Zakanassian has a definite purpose. What is this purpose? It is to make us happy, to shower us with gold, to renovate the Wagner works, the Hopal Foundry, Bachmann and Company. You know this is not the case. Mrs. Claire Zakanassian has more important plans. What she wants for her billion is justice. Justice. She wants to see our community transformed into a citadel of justice. This demand bids us pause. Were we not already a just community? Never. We tolerated a crime, a miscarriage of justice, perjury, a bastard. That's right. People of Gullin, this is the sad state of affairs. We tolerated injustice. Now I am fully aware of what a billion would mean to us in terms of material advantages. Nor am I ignorant of the blight and bitterness caused by poverty. And yet, the issue here is not money. It is not prosperity, a comfortable way of life, luxury. The issue is whether we want to make justice a reality. And not only justice, but all the ideals for which our ancient forebears lived and struggled and for which they died. Ideals that constitute the true value of our Western world. Freedom is at stake when a man violates the tenets of neighborly love, when the commandment, the succor, the weak is disregarded, when the institution of marriage is insulted, when a court of justice is deceived, and a young mother is plunged into misery. Now, in God's name, the time has come for us to act on our ideals in earnest, indeed in dead earnest. Abundance has meaning only if it produces an abundance of grace, but grace comes only to those who hunger for grace. Do you have this hunger, Gulliners? This hunger of the spirit, and not just that other hunger, the hunger of the body, physical, and profane? That is the urgent question that I, as principal of your high school, have for you. Only if you are unable to tolerate evil, only if you are incapable of living any longer, under any circumstances, in the world of justice, can you accept Mrs. Akanasian's billion and fulfill the conditions that are attached to this endowment? This, governors, I beg you to consider. You hear the applause, ladies and gentlemen. I am overwhelmed. With this speech, the principal has evinced a more greatness that is, alas, not commonly found in our time. Courageously he pointed his finger at the general run of abuse and injustice that is encountered in every community, wherever there are human beings. Alfred Ill, the mayor is taking the floor again. Alfred Ill, I have a question for you. Now the voice of the man upon whose suggestion the Zakanasian endowment was founded, the voice of Alfred Ill, the childhood friend of our town's benefactress. Alfred Ill is a sturdy man of about 70, an upright governor in our old school, deeply moved, of course, full of gratitude, full of quiet satisfaction. It is owing you that the endowment was offered to us, Alfred Ill. Are you aware of this? You must speak louder, dear sir, so that our listeners can hear you. Yes. Will you respect our decision concerning the acceptance or rejection of Claire Zakanasian endowment? I respect it. Does anyone wish to pose a question to Alfred Ill? Does anyone wish to comment on Mrs. Zakanasian's endowment? Our pastor? Our physician? The police? The opposition party? I now call for a vote. All those who sincerely want justice done, raise your hands. Devout silence in the auditorium, nothing but a single sea of raised hands, like a mighty conspiracy to promote a better, more just world. Only the old man sits motionless, overcome with joy. He has reached his goal. The endowment has become a reality, thanks to the generosity of his childhood friend. The Claire Zakanasian endowment has been accepted, unanimously, not for the sake of money. Not for the sake of money, but for the sake of justice, and to ally our conscience, and to allay our conscience. For we cannot live if we sanction a crime in our midst, which we must eradicate, so that our souls do not suffer damage, and our most sacred goods, My God! What a pity, Your Honor. Our lights gave out. Let's do that final vote again. Again? For the newsreel. Oh, of course. Lights? Lights. Roll. All those who, from the bottom of their hearts, want justice done, raise your hands. The Claire Zakanasian endowment has been accepted, unanimously. Not for the sake of money, but for the sake of justice, and to allay our conscience, For we cannot live if we sanction a crime in our midst, which we must eradicate, so that our souls do not suffer damage, and our most sacred goods, Ill, come on! Then not. It's a pity that joyful cry, my God, didn't come. It was particularly impressive. The gentlemen of the press, radio, and cinema are invited to a repast. In the restaurant, the easiest way out of the auditorium is through the stage exit. For the ladies, tea is being served in the garden of the Golden Apostle. Stay! You're planning to do it today? Of course! I thought it would be best if it happened at my place. It will happen here. No one left in the auditorium? No one. In the gallery? Empty. Lock the doors. Don't let anyone into the auditorium. Locked. Turn off the lights. The full moon is shining through the gallery windows. That's enough. Form a lane. Pastor, if you please. Now, Ill, your time is at hand. A cigarette. A cigarette, your honor. Of course, a really good one. As the prophet Amos said, please don't. You're not afraid? Not much anymore. I'll pray for you. Pray for Gulen. God have mercy on us. Rise, Alfred Ill. Get up, you son of a bitch. Officer, control yourselves. Excuse me, I lost it for a moment. Come on, Alfred Ill. Walk down the lane. Move. What's going on here? Heart attack. Died of joy. Died of joy. Life writes the most beautiful stories. Let's get to work. Bring him here. Uncover him, Bobby. Now he is again the way he was a long time ago. The Black Panther. Cover him. Carry him to the coffin. Take me to my room, Bobby. Get the bags packed. We're going to Capri. Mayor, the check. Many are the monstrous things of this world. Mighty earthquakes, tidal waves, fire-spewing mountains, and wars too. The clatter of tanks through cornfields, the mushroom cloud rivaling the sun. But none is more monstrous than poverty. For poverty knows no adventure, but only with sows desolation, stringing day upon gloomy day, without end. Helpless, the mothers watch their loved ones wasting away. But a man ponders rebellion and meditates treason. In worn-out shoes he walks the pavement, foul-smelling weed between his lips. For the jobs by which a man earned his bread are no longer, and the great speeding trains shun his town. Blessed we are, for a kindly fate has smiled upon us. Appropriate clothing now graces our delicate bodies. The young man steers his sleek convertible, and the businessman his limousine. The young girl plays tennis on a brick-red court. Joyfully the surgeon wields the scalpel in his new green-tiled operating room. Our supper steams on the table, content and well shod. Everyone puffs a finer tobacco. Those who are avid for learning learn avidly. The industrious executive heaps treasure upon treasure, Rembrandt upon Rubens. Art feeds the artist, and thus doubly fulfilling, and filled to bursting with Christians on Christmas, Easter, and Whitsunday as the cathedral, and the steam-spewing trains, majestic, gleaming, flying fast on the far-stretching tracks, from town to town, linking nations and peoples, stop again at our station. Gulen Rome Express, step in, please. Diner up front. The lady departs, she who enriched us so greatly, our benefactress, with her noble entourage. May she fare well. Precious is the freight consigned to her safekeeping. Stand clear! In these pounding, whirling times, may a God preserve us, our affluence, preserve our sacred goods, preserve the peace, preserve our freedom, ward off the night, never darken our town again, our splendid, newly risen town, that we may enjoy our good fortune. End of play. End of Act 3, The Visit by Friedrich Dürrenmatt.